Once again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger has been arrested. He was arrested and arraigned this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Bryan Kohberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says a tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latest gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Pride, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show on a special late night edition. Wasn't planning on going live tonight, but we have quite a few breaking things going down in the Bryan Kohberger case. The body cam footage is released. There are some crime scene photos that have been released, 382 to be exact. Now, the victim's family members are currently doing a thing with the courts. Like there's a potential, I don't want to say it's a lawsuit, but it's like a civil action to stop some of these photos and some of the things coming out. And a lot of the actual stuff in the bedrooms are not there, which is a good thing. I 100% support and agree with this. Even if there was some of those type of photos there, you know, we wouldn't be bringing those onto this channel. That's not what we do here. We might look at some things that are on the ground, blood splatter that's on the wall or on the floor, things like that. But we're not going to look at pictures of anybody's victim, any victims of any kind, any body pictures, none of those things. So if you're expecting to see that on this channel, you're probably barking up the wrong tree for one. But there was some body cam footage and there was some images that have been released, and we're going to go through some of the more important ones. And as I mentioned, I've kind of gone through some of these photos here, and for the most part, there's not much there. There's a few things here or there, and I'll probably go through them more in detail. I just kind of want to touch on a few things. But 382 photos have been released, and one of the first things that I wanted to talk about is this path right here along the fence line towards the back of the house. This was photographed quite extensively that you can see behind the house. This is the entry point. This is the rear sliding glass door, the entry point that they believe Bryan Kohberger may have entered through to commit the crimes. And you have these footprints that are just kind of going way out. You know, they're side by side, and you know, they're backtracking. So they went one way, turned around, and came back the other. Oh, real quick, I know a lot of people were asking. I saw it and I forgot to mention. My dad's doing great, guys. I know you guys have been asking. My father's doing great. He actually walked a little bit today, and he had open heart surgery, and he's doing great. So I should have probably mentioned that. I know a lot of people were worried about that. I know I mentioned I was going to go live earlier, like this week, that I'd go live Thursday if nothing happened. And I was planning on going live. It's just it got late in the day, and then, well, now all this came out. And so just wanted to stop and pause that real quick. All right, back to the photos here. So you have footprints that are heading out to the back, out of the back of the residence, and along these along the fence line back here. Now, what makes me think that they're important is when they're photographed. Well, like there's this one here that's photographed in. You can see the footprints there. Can't tell, you know, if there's a diamond pattern to them or not. You know, I know that inside of the house there was supposedly a diamond pattern for the indicating of. I guess it kind of does look a little diamond pattern, but I don't know. What do you guys see? Let me zoom in a little bit more. See that? Guess it could be. To me, I was thinking some of the prints looked more like boot prints, and they have some photographs of these up close. And I see right here, as you can see, there's a little heel and there's a little step in point. That tells me that that's a boot, right? And so a couple photos, another photo here of the boot print. like I said, the heel impressed like that tells me this is a boot. And then they have it measured off here. As you can see, it's a larger size shoe print or boot print. Probably over longer than this ruler. And I'm assuming this is your standard 12-inch ruler. Bryan Kohberger was alleged to have had shoes that were size 13. And so you have some boot prints here. This backpack was found outside, and we're not going to go through all of them. Like I said, majority of them, I mean, you get to see the inside of the house and stuff, but it's kind of a mess. There was a party there, and you can kind of see that, but there's not a lot of evidence in these photos. This angle back here, you know, we've debated on where Bryan Kohberger parked. Now, I don't believe that he parked in the very back area. And the reason being, if you guys watched the 12 King Road residence, the camera footage there, it kind of shows in the top right corner. In fact, let me bring it up real quick. I think I still have it. I hope I do. Let me see. Okay. Yes, right here. So what I want you guys to focus on is in the top right corner. You see right, let me make this bigger. You see this house right here? And you're going to see, this is at 331. You're going to see headlights pass. And this is before Bryan, this is while Bryan Kohberger is back there. This is Bryan Kohberger's vehicle turning from behind the apartments onto that little side street between the victim's house and the apartment complex that leads up right in front to this Queen Road. This Queen Road. You see right here up at the top, you're going to see it right there. You see the headlights as the vehicle turns, the headlights kind of move to the right. All right, let's fast forward to 407. You're going to see the same motion. See, here's the light, headlights turn. And so to me, if he was parking back there in that back area, you would have seen a difference in the headlights. Those lights that are flashing against that back residence wouldn't be there, basically. You probably would have seen lights go to the left, probably stayed there a little bit longer, and then turn to the right as the vehicle turned into the back parking area. But that's not the case. The vehicle turned, so it may not have parked all the way down to the intersection, but I do believe that it did park somewhere along the side there. And I'll pull up some other photos to kind of indicate where I think it is. So I don't think it's right here. I think he's parked back here along the side, where if somebody looked out of the back, the vehicle would be hidden with the trees back here. And as you can see, this upward area, it's an upper elevation, so the lights coming towards that reflect on the house would be that high if you were parking or driving back here. Now let's take a look at the body cam. Now here, they're going to walk outside and kind of take a glimpse of these of the. So you can kind of see right here where they go, and then around here and then up along the fence line. I wish they would have gone back and actually filmed some more of it. He went out there. Another officer told him to go get the footprints. Here's another path that he could have came down through. But given the footprints come and go this way, I speculate that he was probably up here. Look at how much that door was opened. It was opened a good amount. I think he anticipated having to run out of there. He anticipated having to move that he was going to have to move quickly to get out, and that he was going to have to leave the door open enough for him to exit and enter. Maybe also he opened it this much because of the container or the canister that he may have been, holding while he was there. Big footprints, as you can see. Now you see this footprint right here, and then one right here where this line is. They're going towards. They're coming towards the house, right? Now this one back here and this one right here are going away from the house. But as you can see how far apart they are versus these two that are going the same direction. That tells me that he was kind of moving there with a purpose. He was running out of there. The gate, and that was one of the things that I said, hey, it's kind of hard to tell from that drone footage. Maybe when we get some clearer pictures of the area, maybe we'll be able to see this. And it looks to be that way. And also, you see these little prints right here. Wish I could zoom in on that right now. But there's little prints, look like dog prints, that may have gone out this way. Murphy was possibly outside barking. It's most likely Murphy. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, no, it's not Murphy. It couldn't be Murphy. I was like, well, what other dog had access of going in and out of the house, right? At that type of night in the freezing elements, and was aware that Bryan Kohberger was committing a homicide, because that's what the dog was barking towards. That's what the dog was barking about. You know what I'm saying? And so there was witnesses that talked about, they went and they interviewed people about the dog, and there was only, I think, one other person that had a dog, and he took his dog out around 4:50 in the morning, and he took his dog out, and this was in the documents. Said he didn't hear anything, and they interviewed other people from the area. None of the people that were like right up close had any dogs, and the ones that they interviewed from up close said that they heard the dog barking, believed that it was Murphy. And so, context clues, man. At the end of the day, it's like when the Kohbergers used to say, "Oh," they used to argue about the dumbest stuff. And I was like, man, just because, like, if I were to walk outside and I see dark clouds in the distance and it's raining, and it smells like rain, and I see everything wet, I may not have seen it rain, but I can tell that it rained. It's kind of the same thing. You have a dog barking at the exact same time that there's a disturbance happening in Xana's room. And there's a dog inside of the house that has the door open to Kaylee's bedroom. And I know these people, they have this weird fascination that unless it's said specifically that the door was open, just use a little bit of common sense. If law enforcement believe that the dog possibly was Murphy, then then Murphy must have had access to get in and out. Because if he was behind a closed door, then it's impossible for the dog to have been Murphy. It doesn't take some of these arguments that I see that they argue for the dumbest things. It's just ridiculous to me. Well, anyways, you had Murphy, who was barking that night, who had access to get in and out of the house. His door was open. We've seen multiple documents that indicated law enforcement had to close the door so that Murphy wouldn't contaminate any of the scene there. It's ridiculous. But you had a dog, Murphy, who had access to go in and out of that building at the wee hours of the night, and also had knowledge that Bryan Kohberger, or at least an intruder, was in there committing a violent crime against their owner. They knew this. The dog knew this. The dog was barking outside. The dog was barking aggressively towards that person and continued to bark for help after Bryan Kohberger had left the scene. Well, anyhow, so you have the footprints heading outside. It kind of seems like they slow down and turn right here. No, I think they go this way. They go that way and then up. I recognize that stump, so that goes up this way and then up across that way. So he's probably parked right up here, which also makes sense as to how long it took him for him to get in and out of that house. Like, for instance, One of the things that we know is that there's an altercation that happens just at 4:16, like 50 seconds. So right before 4:17, and Murphy can be heard barking. So that's the point of reference where we know that something happened, right? We know something happened there. We know that there's an altercation there. So what else do we know? And we're going to find out through Dylan's statement, which we're going to hear in a little bit, is that she heard who she thought was Xana or Kaylee playing with Murphy on the main floor, on the second floor, not on the third floor, on the second floor. And then she heard who she thought was Kaylee go up the stairs with Murphy and then run as fast as she can down the stairs saying somebody is here. So for Murphy to have gone up the stairs with Xana, he would have had to have come down the stairs at some point, right? Now, if we know that there's an altercation there, we can, and we know that Xana is interrupted on her TikTok at 4:16. I know some people are going to say it says 4:12 in the PCA, Daniel. I know it says 4:12 in the PCA. The PCA was written in December of 2022. In May of 2023, the warrant for TikTok came in that indicated that Xana was on TikTok till 4:16 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, meaning that, which makes more sense, that she gets interrupted, and then within a minute from her interrupted from her TikTok, possibly by Murphy coming downstairs, she's now taking him upstairs. Now, what wakes up Dylan is the fact that Murphy's barking and it sounds like they're playing. Xana's probably trying to take him up the stairs and he's refusing to go. He's probably scared. And what she's hearing is that fear from the dog and his unwillingness to go up the stairs. And she's confusing that for playing, and because it's Murphy, she thinks it's Kaylee. Well, anywho, so we know that there's a good possibility that Bryan Kohberger, and even law enforcement said this in their timing, we went through this just the other night, that they believe Bryan Kohberger went into Kaylee's room first, and that he opened the door and saw nobody there, and then went into Maddie's room. And so to backtrack, we have to figure out, all right, how long did it take from the time that Bryan Kohberger opened? It took Bryan Kohberger from the time that he opened Kaylee's door to the time that Xana's bringing up Murphy up to the third floor. And he gets interrupted. That's how long he had in that bedroom. However long that was. Now, if we think that that is 7-8 minutes, that's a long time for him to have opened the door, and for Murphy to go down the stairs and then interrupt Xana, and then for Xana to get up out of bed and then go. It really shouldn't take more than a few seconds, like 40, maybe 45 seconds tops, for Xana to get interrupted and to take Murphy up the stairs. So to me, I think that means that Bryan Kohberger made entry into that house a little bit later than 4:08 or 4:09. Now, given his path that he took and how long it took for law enforcement, they had the timing thing. They timed the homicides, and they said if he walked along the fence line in this manner, it would have taken over a minute for him to walk there. Now, running would have taken like 12, 13 seconds. It wouldn't have taken very long. But if you're walking and you're trying to make sure nobody sees you, and I'm assuming he also had some hesitation. If you look at the Linda Lane footage, he parks when he pulls in at 4:05, and he goes around he's already gone around the apartment complex multiple times in the same fashion. But at 4:05, and I'm assuming it's Xana's bedroom's light is turned off because she already picked up her DoorDash. He's already starting to act up. He's starting to make mistakes. He's starting to become nervous. He pulls up at the 500 Queen Road and parks there for like 11 seconds before popping it in reverse and going back. And then he tries to park or do something crazy, a 3-point turn. He can't even do that. Then he has to go and do a 3-point turn at the King Queen Road residence, come back, go all the way around, and then park. And in that process, he accidentally hits the horn to his vehicle. And you can hear that go off a little bit after 4:07 as he's pulling up to where he can be visually seen off the Linda Lane footage. So I have little doubt that he didn't, or that he, let me rephrase this. I believe that when he went back there, that he probably had to work up a little bit of a nerve to go inside of that house to do what he did. He probably also wanted to make sure nobody else was around. He probably parked there, looked around, made sure nobody else was out there at that time, got out. I'm assuming he got dressed. There's a possibility that, when he left, because it took him a while, There's a noise at 419 and some change there that sounds like a trunk door, which would make sense because like a trunk or a door. My apologies, which would make sense because Dylan is calling Bethany around 419 and saying she just saw somebody walk out. And obviously the pace looks like he's moving quickly. And according to the timeline, if he's parked at the farthest end that he possibly could get, if he's running out there, it's not going to take very long, just about 20 seconds or so. So maybe perhaps he was taping up his vehicle a little bit. Maybe he was putting a bag over his seat. And I know he was probably changing out of his suit or whatever it is that he's wearing to try to mitigate the amount of DNA that he's going to transfer into his car. So there was a lot of things that were going on there, which would end up resulting in him leaving at 420 and closer to actually 421. So it's a lot of time for him to have been outside as well. So if it took him that long to leave, like, over a minute to leave, probably took him longer than that to get into the house. Now, once he was in the house, law enforcement timed it as 1 minute and 30 seconds to have committed the murders to 2 minutes and 33 seconds on a slower rate to commit the murders. Now, that's once he's in the house. So it didn't take him very long. It wouldn't have taken him very long to have committed these murders. And I would have assumed that Xana is interrupting him, as he's committing the crime. That's one of the reasons why he leaves the knife sheath. So he's probably not in there very long. I'm assuming he's probably in that house around 414. And if you listen to the audio around 413, 414, 415, you hear Murphy bark for the first time. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's around the time that he made entry into Maddie's room. All right, let's fast forward this so we can kind of move it along a little bit and look at some of the and again, they don't really show anything. Everything's kind of blocked off. But here's where it gets a little interesting. This is when the officer here starts to talk with Dylan, and she starts saying some of the things that occurred. And I think this is important. Annabelle says, so was Bill Thompson lying when he said they didn't have any proof that Xana went upstairs? I'll be honest with you guys. Me and Dr. Vona are going to come on tomorrow. I think she saw in the live chat. Welcome, Dr. Vona. We're going to talk about some things. One of the things is an interview that the current chief has done. And he kind of mentions that, when they asked if Kohberger said Kaylee's name, he was like, he seemed unsure. He's like, oh, I don't know. That's not what I know. That's not what I heard. Instead of saying flat out, no, that's not what was said. He kind of goes back and forth, fumbles around to try to be, I don't know, politically correct, try not to lie, try to say something without saying something. And to me, it seems like Bill Thompson and Moscow's prosecution there in Latah, actually, it seems like they're trying to downplay things so that it's I don't know, try to denounce the attention that people want in this case, that this case seeks or has gotten. They're like, all right, we're not going to throw out all this information because we don't want people to look into it. And all it's doing is creating more conspiracy, more crap, to be honest with you. Because you have some folks that were going to testify, like the Barnharts out of Cellbrite, that's come forward and said some things. And you're like, man, it seems a lot different than what prosecution was trying to allude to. And I think it's them trying to downplay things, and they're just making things worse.
They were in the main room. I heard the dancing and laughing. Kaylee went upstairs and she screamed because someone was in the room. She ran downstairs, and I kept calling her name and she wouldn't answer. And then I saw the guy. I just locked the door and I ran downstairs. We don't know what's going on. Can you come here?
So she heard them dancing and singing in the main room, and she's thinking that was Kaylee and Murphy, but it's not. Murphy was, Kaylee was upstairs. She was found underneath the blankets. There were stab wounds through the blankets, so she was in bed. And I know some people are going to look at the fact that the bed was unmade. Bethany talks a little bit, and she talks about how all of them went to Kaylee's room and they were hanging out in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if while they were hanging out and Kaylee and Maddie were eating and they were talking about food and ordering things, that they sat on Kaylee's bed at some point and then made the bed. And so that's probably where that was from. But they were playing on the main floor. Thank you, Desert Sunset. 100%. God watch over Dylan and all of the everybody involved in this. Annabelle comes in $4.99. Thank you.
Could you guys grab some blankets for all these people out here?
Oh, okay.
They're going to go back and forth. There's really not much said here until 15:33, and that's when it actually gets going.
All right. What do you remember seeing? What started?
I remember I was in my room and I was trying to go to bed and I heard Kaylee, who ex-girlfriend, who also has a dog Murphy.
Real fast. Which one is your room?
Kaylee.
Which one is your room?
Oh,
What room are you in?
And you can hear the fear. I mean, poor Bethany. She sounds like she's losing it when we hear her talk. It's so sad. And yes, they are all freaked out.
You were in that room?
my room, not Xana's room. My room.
And your room is this one right here?
Next to the stairs. That one is Xana's room.
Second floor room.
Second floor.
Okay.
All I heard was I heard go upstairs. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep now because she's going upstairs. All
And you heard who go upstairs?
Kaylee and the dog Murphy.
And
So she heard Kaylee and the dog Murphy go upstairs after hearing who she thought was Kaylee playing on the main floor. This is stuff that I've been arguing with a lot of, like, I'm assuming they're pro burgers because they just want to come in and argue. Where they're like, oh no, Kaylee's dog was upstairs, or oh no, they didn't hear that, or oh no, Kaylee was heard playing with her dog upstairs. And I was like, that's not the case. That's not what would happen. She heard who she thought was Kaylee, and this was on the second floor. And I've been saying this for so long, and I've been arguing like I've been arguing to a wall with some of these things. It's so unfortunate. But Kaylee, I mean, she heard Murphy go up the stairs. So for her to go hear Murphy go up the stairs, Murphy would have had to have gone down. And one of the things that maybe I'm going to go back and play before it's over is when you walk up the stairs, Kaylee's bedroom door is right there at the top. I mean, he would have had to have passed Dylan's bedroom door, but Dylan's is a little bit further back from the staircase. This one is right on it. And so I think that his target was Kaylee. I think he opened Kaylee's door. I know some people will argue with me too, saying, oh, well, how did he not know that Kaylee was in Maddie's bedroom? Well, why would he think it's Kaylee? I mean, Kaylee has her own bedroom there. Why would he think Kaylee's in the bed on the same floor next, in the next bedroom? That could have been anybody. He left her disfigured too and unrecognizable, and it was dark. And this idiot has freaking visual snow, so he can't see well. So yeah, he, when you aligned all those things, and then he probably is hearing Xana. If Dylan's hearing Xana playing with Murphy, I'm sure Bryan Kohberger heard her too coming up the stairs playing with Murphy. And he's probably thinking, oh, well, here's Kaylee. She's coming up the stairs with Murphy. And so that's why he chases her. Now, I don't know if he says her name or not. Dylan doesn't say that in any of the interviews here, that he says Kaylee's name.
Stairs to the very top?
Yeah, that's where her room is.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I heard her walking up, I heard her scream, and she ran downstairs because she saw someone. That's what I'm pretty sure she said. Someone's here, and she screamed and just ran downstairs. And I called for her name, but I jumped up and locked my door because I was...
So she called out for her name, but there's a scream and she heard her run as fast as she could. So it's a lot different than what law enforcement put out there. She just heard say, I think someone's here. Now, this was a scream and she ran as fast as she could.
So scared. And then I heard someone in the bathroom and I heard her crying and I heard some guy say that you're going to be okay, I'm going to help you. And I kept calling her name, but she wasn't answering.
She kept calling her name, but she wasn't answering. She's not calling her phone. She's calling her name. So she's yelling out the door. So I think that there's some major tunnel vision going on with Bryan Kohberger, which, he probably doesn't hear, Dylan yell out the first couple times. But once the murders are done and he's looking at the scene and then maybe that's when she yells out Kaylee's name again. I think he probably did hear that. And I think the reason he spared her was she's been alert for some time. She's probably called 911. He needs to get out of there as fast as possible.
And then I opened the door for a second and I saw this guy, and he was not insanely tall, but he was wearing all black and like this mask which is covering his forehead and his mouth. And I locked the door and I called back and I didn't know what to do.
This was at 4
a.m. Yes. Okay. And so then I just ran down.
You left here?
Yeah, I left my room down to room. She's that one with the white blinds at the very bottom. Okay. I ran down there and we talked, and we just locked the door. We didn't think anything of it. We're like, nothing happens in Moscow, so we just like tried to go to bed. And then we woke up, and it was weird because none of our roommates were up, and we called all of them. They were not waking up, and so me and like, this is weird. So I called and to come over, and then that's when all this happened.
Oh, she's gonna say that. She goes, AZ. She goes, I didn't hear her say as fast as she could. She says it. They take her statement like 3 times. We're gonna listen to all 3 of them.
Who all lives here with you?
Me. That one right there. Okay.
Who's Xana?
Xana is the girl in there.
Is the girl that lives this one?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you spell her name?
Xana.
As far as the bedroom lights were on, she said that she saw her on the ground, but she doesn't know why she could see her on the ground. She seems that maybe because the light was on, but she wasn't sure about it. She seemed kind of confused, and then she remembered that they had Sensi lights, and that could have been that are kind of low to the ground, and that could have been what lit up as to why she was able to see that Xana was on the ground. But she didn't see Xana stabbed or bleeding or any of those things, so it must not have been the most brightest of lights. So the Sensi light makes sense.
Do you know if she has a middle name?
Alexis, I think.
Do you know what her last name is?
Kernodle. K. I don't know how to spell it really. K. You know? R-N-O-D-L.
K-A-E-R.
K-E-R.
K-E-R.
N-O.
N-O.
L-E.
D-L-E. Okay.
X-A-N-A.
X-A-N-A. Okay.
Ethan, who's in there, he doesn't actually live here, but he's here like almost all the time.
There's a male that lives here, and
he doesn't actually live here. He's in the room with Xana, I believe.
He's in there right now.
But he doesn't live here, but he's here a lot. And then there's Maddie, Mogen, and Kaylee up top. I don't know where they're at though.
Maddie
Mogen. Maddie Mogen and
Maddie
Kaylee,
Mogen.
Yeah.
And who?
Kaylee Goncalves. She's the girl that I was talking about, Kaylee, who I just heard her go upstairs and run back downstairs.
Okay. And the guy that lives here, his name was what? Or he's usually here?
Ethan.
Chapin. And you knew he was here this morning?
No, I didn't know. I had no idea he was here.
Okay. All right, describe the guy that you saw.
I don't think he was a little bit taller than me. And I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth, and he didn't say anything to me, like at all. I just shut the door and locked it because I didn't know what to do. And I think he went out like the side door, the sliding door in the kitchen that goes out to the backyard.
Okay.
And then I didn't know anything else, so I called. And I was like, I just need to come downstairs and find you because I don't know where anyone else is. And I called Maddie, I called Xana, I called Kaylee, no one would answer.
Okay. All right. For Xana, do you know how old she is?
She's 20.
Is she in a sorority house?
Yeah, not anymore.
Okay. She's a student at UVI?
Yes.
Do you have any contact information for her parents?
No.
It's okay. Well,
okay.
we can get.
All right. So they're just going over contact information. Then they come back and talk to her again. At 23 minutes and 40 seconds is when it gets back into the conversation.
Very well.
Do you know if the other 2 girls are upstairs or not?
Right now, what we got to do is we got to process this whole thing.
That makes sense.
I don't know what I'd be permitted to tell you
That's fine.
right
That's
now. Okay.
fine. I understand.
Okay, let's go back. I just want to make sure we're getting everything. So you shared about 4 this morning?
Yes, it was 4:10.
You first noticed a guy.
Well, I first noticed Kaylee go upstairs and scream and run downstairs.
So 4 this morning, went upstairs
Yeah.
to the way top.
Yes, to her room with Murphy the dog.
Okay.
And then
And you heard Kaylee scream?
I heard her scream and run as fast as she could downstairs, and she said someone's here.
So she heard Kaylee go up the stairs with the dog. So she's very adamant that she heard with the dog, and then she heard her scream and run as fast as she could down the stairs. I'm not lying when I said that she said those things. I get questioned a lot, but she interrupted him. I mentioned this before, that I felt that there was an interaction on those stairs. And the reason why I felt that there was an interaction on those stairs, not necessarily like a physical interaction, but like a visual interaction, was because Murphy ran outside and Xana ran to Ethan. The fact that Murphy ran outside tells me he was spooked as well. He was scared. And he ran outside. He didn't run after Xana. I think if Xana would have had like just the heebie-jeebies, felt that something was there and ran back, I think Murphy probably runs with her. You know what I'm saying? And so because of that, that tells me that they saw each other. She screamed and she ran as fast as she could. That tells me that they saw someone there. That tells me they saw somebody there. And it's heartbreaking, man. It really is.
With Murphy the dog.
Okay.
And then
And you heard Kaylee scream?
I heard her scream and run as fast as she could downstairs, and she said someone's here.
She ran downstairs?
Yes, I could hear it. You can hear everything pretty much. I heard her run downstairs really fast. And then I heard Murphy barking a lot.
Okay.
And then I heard her go into I think it was the bathroom, and I remember her sobbing, and I just remember hearing this guy's voice, and I didn't recognize saying, "You're gonna be okay, I'm gonna help you," but it wasn't like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it wasn't in like a nice way, it was like a weird way, like a weird tone.
You're gonna be okay. I'm gonna help you.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people are saying Bill Thompson's lying and stuff, and I don't disagree. There's other evidence that proves that that Bryan Kohberger was walking with a high pace. They talk about the blood splatter in the hallway and along the beer pong table and things of that nature. We haven't seen the blood splatter in the hallway, but we've seen some of it that was in Maddie's room. And it appeared that Bryan Kohberger left there with some force. We had Steve from True Crime Web. He's former CSI, he's a retired crime scene investigator. And he was talking about how the droplets of blood had smaller droplets surrounding them, which would be an indication of force. So when you have a drip, so to speak, the droplet has to get to a certain size and weight before gravity does its thing and pulls it from its source for it to fall down. So little ones would have to build up and then build up to a certain extent. So the little ones are out of force by shaking or moving or swinging your arm. And so if you have that going through that hallway, then you can tell that Bryan Kohberger, who had blood all over him from just taking the lives of 2 young women upstairs, then that obviously would be a sign that he was chasing somebody. Then you also have the evidence here of Dylan saying that she heard who she thought was Kaylee, but was Xana, scream and then run as fast as she could down the stairs. So all those things make sense to me. Why prosecution is downplaying the evidence is beyond me. It's beyond me. And I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of glad that it ended up being I'm glad that they ended up taking a plea, because I'm not certain that Bill Thompson could have lawyered Ann Taylor, especially with this type of stuff. And it wasn't just because he took a plea. We all saw how he was arguing. I almost said a curse word. How he was arguing that there was no evidence of stalking. That guy makes me mad sometimes. But so it wasn't just then, and that's my fear. But let's continue this.
And you didn't hear anything from Kaylee anymore?
No, after that I didn't hear anything. So then I kept calling for her name. I called on my phone, I called Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. None of them answered. So then I opened up the door to look, and that's when I saw the guy pass by. He looked at me, but he didn't come towards me or say anything, which was really confusing to me. I don't understand that. And I'm pretty sure he went out the side door. And then I called and said she thought maybe there was a fire or like a firework. We didn't know. She heard this loud noise and there was a light, I guess.
Did you hear like a pop, like a bang?
I don't know. Did you hear it bang?
It's what she heard.
Okay.
That's what she heard.
Okay, never mind. You sit there. I didn't hear that.
So Dylan didn't hear it. She was the most elusive. She was the one that was awake. Now, what we do know is that video that is 50 feet away, which is from this house right here, picks up a thud, which sounds to me like something skidding across and then hitting the wall, like a bed or a desk, which I think that when I looked at the crime scene photos of the 12 that were dropped before, it looks like one of the desks, the leg is kind of sticking outward as if it was dragged. And so that's kind of what it sounded like to me, like a desk dragging against the floor and then boom, hitting something hard. Obviously, it could have been somebody falling and other things. But to me, I think that when it came to what Bethany saw, the light first and foremost, I think she was probably woken up by the DoorDasher. I think the flashlight probably woke her up. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was dropped off in the front yard or in the front, if Xana turned on the light to go down the stairs, pick it up. She closes the door, and maybe that kind of wakes her up a little bit, not fully, but just a little bit. So she kind of sees the light a little bit, and then she falls asleep, and then boom, here's the thud. And then she's putting those two incidences that happen in a short period of time together. She's mixed in with sleep, and she's just probably inaccurately describing what she heard and saw. Witness testimony can be like that, especially if you have somebody who was fallen asleep at the time and intoxicated as well. But let's continue.
Hey, where are you going right now?
I'm just going to pick up my phone.
Okay. Where's your friend live?
All right. Let's go back to Dylan real quick.
Or a gunshot?
I don't think I heard anything of that, but I also was kind of in and out of it because I was so scared and I was really tired. And that's when I called and I told her, I need to come to your room because she was the only one that was answering me. So I just ran down there, and for a second I stopped and I saw Xana passed out, and I thought maybe she was just like sleeping or something. I didn't think anything because I was so out of it. And I went into the room and we just fell asleep. And then we woke up this morning and no one was waking up at all. Like no one was answering, which was really weird because all of us wake up around like 9 or 10. And then I called the girl to come check, and he came here first. And I told him what happened, and then I looked in the room, and he said I needed to get out and call the cops.
Okay. The guy that you saw, and it was dark, right? Or were there lights on?
I think there were lights on in the house, I believe. Okay. I don't really know what he looked like because he had a mask, but he wasn't like super tall.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10". I think it was maybe my height an inch or two higher or lower. I can't really remember.
So about 6 foot.
I think so. Around there.
How was he built? Fat, skinny, stocky?
More like skinny, but like basketball player kind of skinny. Like not too skinny, but like almost fit skinny in a way. That's what I think. I don't know for sure.
And then the voice, he said, when he said those words, you didn't recognize that voice before.
I didn't recognize him or his voice. I mean, I also couldn't see him, but I didn't recognize that voice at all. Couldn't even cross my mind if that could be.
Did you guys have a party last night too? Or?
Not tonight, but there was and we had like a formal thing beforehand. That was 2 days ago.
Okay. Is there anything that popped out about that event that was concerning?
No. I mean, I went to Ethan. He is with my Xana and who are dating when Xana went there. I was there for a little bit. And then I went to my friend's house down the street, and then I came back home with my friend. Everything was fine, nothing weird at all, nothing suspicious, and until 4 a.m.
Okay. All right. I don't think I have any more questions for you right now.
Okay, if you did
Somebody else will.
okay, sounds good.
So let's grab that. Let's go back over there.
Okay.
Now this is Bethany, y'all, and we're going to listen to a little bit. She doesn't really know much. She talks about the firecracker and the light. Talks about watching Vampire Diaries, and that she fell asleep. I mean, she really doesn't say much, but she's so distraught. It takes her a while to say anything.
Can I check?
Yeah. And while you do that, I'll turn off my lights here. I'll be right back. I forgot you're here, man. Do you still want to hang out here?
I just want to know what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know how much I'm allowed to disclose right now. We're processing what's going on in the scene.
This is not Jack B.
No, for sure. We can tell you guys what's going on. We absolutely will. I know it sucks to be in the dark with this, but okay. And what's your relationship again? Okay. Yeah, man. As soon as I know we're able to fill you in on what's going on, we'll let you know. Okay. Like I said, you're welcome to get out at any point. If you want to hang out in here, you can because it's warm. If not, if you want to hang out with them, you're gonna hang out outside too. Okay. Tell you what, I'll just crack the door. I'll try to not lock it on you. So can maybe get water. We can start. Yeah, we can see if somebody can bring some of that stuff by. Okay.
I'll see if I can find him real quick, because when did he put him in there? I think it's one of the guys on the ground. I think it was that guy. It may have been Hunter.
That helped for you.
They did go in there.
Yeah, and that's when he told us he needed to call the cops and everything.
Do you mind just waiting over there for me, please? Okay.
That could be Hunter.
No, I heard you talking about last night.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to, the more we know right now, the better. Okay.
See, somebody else puts him in there. This guy. See him in the background. See, he's talking to that officer.
Xana, I believe.
He's in there right now.
But he doesn't live here a lot.
So that's who puts him back there. All right, let's go back over here where Bethany is real quick. I'm going to fast forward to where she starts talking a little bit.
And then we all hung out in Kaylee's room for a little.
Oh, no, went too far. All right, that's where I wanted to be at, 36. Because that's kind of interesting. Because she said that they all hung out in Kaylee's room. And I remember Kaylee's bed was unmade.
And then they came home at about what time? It's okay. You're doing great. So they did get home at 2?
Yes.
How do you know that?
I just have a picture of Kaylee's room with Murphy.
Okay. Then what happened after that?
And then me and Maddie took out Murphy, and then
Murphy's the dog?
yeah,
Okay.
and then I went inside to go to bed, and she was still taking him out. And then I was in my bed, like, about to go to sleep, and Maddie just said that she lost Murphy. Like, she was, like, and was wondering if he was with me, and I just said no. And then I went to bed.
What time do you think you fell asleep?
Maybe 2:30, 3.
Okay. What time did you wake up at all to turn to?
Yeah, this is
I heard
Bethany.
something, like, loud, and Murphy, like, barked. And usually, like, she barks at things. And then I thought I saw, like, a firecracker, so I thought someone maybe was just drunk and, like, put a firecracker in the house. But I wasn't even really sure because I was kind of still asleep, so I wasn't sure if it was, like, real.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I'm listening to a couple things at a time. Loud, you thought you saw a firecracker because of a quick flash?
Yeah, through, like, my door, but I was, like, still half asleep, so I don't know if it was, like, real or not. I thought it was maybe a dream.
Okay. And then, did you ever, like, pick up your phone to see what time that was? Or?
Okay. Oh, maybe I might have called her and asked her what was happening, because sometimes we hear things and I'll call her and be like, oh, what was happening? She's usually just pooping.
Okay.
Do you guys recognize all these vehicles in here?
Yeah. I tried to call Maddie and Ethan and Xana and all them at like 4:20.
So you called
I tried to call all of them.
Maddie?
Answering, but
at what time?
4:30 and 4:22. And then
There's Murphy right there.
And then Ethan at 4:22. And then Kaylee at 4:31. I thought they were close.
4:31?
Yeah.
So no answer, and then did you go to sleep after that?
Yeah, I just kind of fell asleep again.
Okay.
I was like half awake.
Okay. And then what throughout your day did you got up at what time today?
I like woke up because my jaw was feeling really bad. I took some Advil at like 6 or 7, and then I just went back to bed. So I figured no one would be up anyways. And like, I didn't wake up until we called you guys.
Okay. Moscow 70, could I get the time this call was generated? Copy, thank you. Alright. Do you remember seeing anybody in there that
I
wouldn't
was
belong?
downstairs the whole time with my door locked. So that's why I always think of it. So I'm scared. I didn't really hear anything either. I thought they were just being like loud and making things.
It's very typical. Okay. Do you have any parent contact information for?
I know Maddie's.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no. I know her boyfriend.
Okay. What's Maddie's boyfriend's name?
Just goes through that.
Write them down or something so you don't forget.
Okay.
Sound like a good plan? Anything comes to mind and not just wait for us to reject you.
Okay.
That makes sense? Okay.
That's
Talk
good.
to you two. Okay. Alright. 1 second.
Let me back up a little bit. I want to see if he talked. I know some folks are saying this is Hunter.
Who was all here when I got here? Sorry to talk to you two. Okay. Alright. 1 second. So, Maddie and Kaylee were at the club last night. They got grub truck after. don't know if they ran into anybody that maybe had issues there. They just had a formal the other day when without a hitch. There's no issues at formal. So there's nobody that they should be having bad blood. So obviously follow up needing to be done at the club and the drug truck at the very least. I did a very preliminary interview with the two people that live here and that were here last night. Everybody else I'm about to identify was not here last night, but was here in the parking area when I rolled up, so I'll just get that information. Perfect.
Anybody asked, is any of these cars belong to these guys?
Ryan asked, sounds like they recognize all these vehicles to include some of the ones down there.
If they ask, then these can leave for the time being.
Okay.
We need to start, once Tyson gets here, we'll start figuring out how to get them somewhere warm.
Yeah. A couple of them did ask about like bottles of water or something. I don't know if there's anybody logistically that can work that out. We can call EMS.
I have a couple bottles in my car.
Okay. I know would be willing to help out however they can.
Okay, I'll go grab those out of my car.
Okay.
And then
They keep asking, what's the status of all four people? I don't tell them we're figuring it out. If they ask, dude. Okay.
It's hard. It's hard to make those tough decisions right then and there. You know what I'm saying? That I believe that was Sergeant Gunnarsson. That was a sergeant patch on his shoulder. So I'm assuming that's Gunnarsson. They all know already. I mean, it's so hard to hear. It's so hard to hear. Let's see what they say over here when they're talking to these other officers.
got a call in the Justin, not call Payne. We need to drop Pete Edward. So we'll get Justin and Payne working on that. So I'll call Payne and I'll call Darren and get Payne.
We have family members walking up for Ethan.
So that was Hunter's, or that was Ethan's brother Hunter. Family members for Ethan.
Where do you want me to sit?
I will talk to them. Can you start with what you want?
Okay.
You have the most information.
What are we trying to just search this residence?
Yep.
Okay.
So you talk to you. Hey, I just talked to our shift sergeant. Guy back and start the search warrant right now.
And then the last calls too, this is the timestamps
we're
that
gonna
get
need some help.
right after it happened. Is at 4:21, 4:22, 4:30. She made these phone calls immediately after the bang.
Okay. Okay. Trying to call the people that are in the
Yes.
And
No one answered.
Perfect.
Do we want to shut this down so Travis not rolling through?
Probably. I can do that. All right. Thanks, Darren. All right. Sounds like.
Yeah.
Did he toss his gloves?
A couple of them did ask about like bottles of water or something. I don't know if there's anybody logistically that can work that out. We can call EMS.
I have a couple bottles in my car.
So I know would be willing to help out however they can.
Okay, I'll go grab those out of my car.
Okay.
And then
They keep asking, what's the status of all four people? I don't tell them we're figuring it out. If they ask, dude. Okay.
If they ask, dude, yeah, it's hard, man. It's one of the toughest things to do to inform somebody that their loved ones have passed in a horrific manner. I've had to do it a few times in my career, a long time ago. I've had to talk with family members after a homicide. It is probably the toughest thing to do. And but you got to be honest and upfront. I mean, hiding things or not saying things or trying to sugarcoat something, kind of like this whole prosecution is doing, trying to sugarcoat things so that, you know, they don't want the horrificness to come out, but it's just making people question so much. And it's not smart, in my opinion. Just rip the Band-Aid off, in my opinion, and be upfront and honest. I mean, that's the only thing you can do, in my opinion. All right, so let's look at this. This is Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. These are some other images that were dropped today about Bryan Kohberger's car. Is one of them. Look at this thing here. It looks pretty shiny. Looks pretty new. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan Kohberger added this after the murders to try to make his vehicle seem like it was not the one that's on tape. Like, oh, look at this. I have this on my vehicle. I'm gonna have to go back through the body cam footage to see if he's always had that, but it's hard to tell, when they're walking up from the back. But check that out. He had this on there. I didn't see a toss of glove either, but I did see that where he took them off. I wouldn't be surprised if he added that there afterwards to try to make his vehicle seem somewhat unique. I know the pro burgers are gonna look at that and be like, "Oh my God, look, there's something there. There's something there." Yeah, he could have added that afterwards. They ripped apart his vehicle and dusted it, and I don't know what this stuff is. I'm sure it's some sort of something to react. I think they're looking for some sort of blood chemical reaction here. Yeah, you're trying to touch all the things that he touched. Exterior doesn't look that clean. But I don't know where these images were taken from. For instance, it's quite possible that, he was arrested in Pennsylvania. I don't know how they transported his vehicle back to Moscow, Idaho. If they did, I don't know if they left it in Pennsylvania. I doubt it. I'm sure they brought it in because they would need to process it, and I'm sure ISP was processing it. So, I mean, a lot of this dirtiness could have came from on the exterior of the vehicle from transport back from Pennsylvania to Moscow. I'm assuming that was on a trailer. Handprints at the bottom. So, but that could have been obviously the investigators when they were going through it. Creepy car. It's only creepy because it's his. And look, there's a mattress in the back. This is the evidence room. So obviously this is in Moscow. So we can determine that now for a fact. This was in Moscow. You have the bloody mattress in the back. You have the a bunch of stuff in evidence here. I'm assuming. Well, I know that this is for the case. That's the mattress. I can't assume that all that is is also for the specific case. It could be, but I have no idea. Let's see what else we see in the background here. You have the mattress there, so that's a clear indication that this is now back in Moscow for sure. And this is just some of the, I'll scroll through them as we talk a little bit. And this is amino black, guys. This is the substance that they used to try to determine if there was blood. This is the kitchen. There really wasn't much here, to be honest with you guys. When I went through it, like the families have a lot of this stuff redacted, which is good. Like I said, I would not show images of anybody's loved one in that manner. No way, never, not on this channel. And so these I have no problem because there's nothing really there. You have amino black here on the door frame. I hate the way that they utilize the stools to secure the bed, that room. This light was on. This light was on the entire time, I assume. So this might be a reason why she was able to see Bryan Kohberger, and also the reason why she was able to, and she being Dylan, able to see down the hallway to see Xana. This was inside the. It's another iPhone. I believe this one was found inside one of these vehicles. And so there's not. So you can see here that the beer pong table was moved. It was right up against that wall. I mean, right up against when you come in. So it would have been hard to miss there. But there's none of the bedrooms are there. The only bedrooms that are seen are ones that. Oh, so here's a good thing. This is the third floor. This is where Kaylee's bedroom is. And so I wanted to make sure that that you guys could see how that's the first door you would assume to come in. Now, there was no blood on this door. Well, there's been documents that have been released, and there's no blood on this door. And so this door was left open. Well, all the bedrooms to where the decedents were found, their bedrooms or doors were left open. The entry/exit point, this back sliding glass door, was found also open. So it's a little bit of an MO of Bryan Kohberger's. When he enters a building, he leaves the doors open. He just touches them once. Now, I suspect that's because he doesn't want to, more times he touches a door, the more opportunity he has to leave DNA behind. I had noticed this. I don't know if this is anything, but there's this in the middle of this window right here. Could be nothing. That kind of almost looks like blood. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. It's in the hallway. If it was Bryan Kohberger, he must have turned and used his hand or something to. I would assume his hand because I don't see anything here. So it wouldn't be like his shoulder or his body pressing up against it, because then you would see more along here. So if this is blood, that's probably from the side of his hand as he's running and turning the corner, chasing after Xana, I would suppose. Like I said, there's not much here. I'm going the wrong way, actually. We went through this already. There's a stool there, but that wasn't always there. And this was now moved. This was after the fact. This wasn't there when they found it. I know there was an image of some blue stuff along a wall along this. As you can see, it's not there. So that blue stuff was amino black. Some bottles on the floor. And this is like the first floor. That's the outside right here through this door. Bryan Kohberger never came down here. And so, like I said, a lot of these pictures are kind of useless. Can't really do much with them, but there are a few. You have some footprints. You have some stuff that's outside. You have the doors. Yeah, the layout, how small it is, how small and compact the house is. And here's at the beginning where we were at earlier. That's blood that's in the bathroom. Probably a nosebleed. There's a small amount. These are the handprints. I can't tell if somebody's wearing gloves or not. They look smaller hands. I don't know if they're BKs. If he came across here, would he have checked the door or the window? Possibly. It seems like, based on the dust missing from here, and this is being printed, that whoever left these handprints were wearing gloves. You can see a smudge right here at the bottom of the handprint, an indication of a sleeve. So whoever was wearing this was wearing a long sleeve and gloves. And I would anticipate that Bryan Kohberger was probably wearing something similar, but could it have been somebody else? It's cold. It's wintertime. A lot of people wear gloves, long sleeves. You're also missing the top of the palm right here. You're missing the top part of the palm. That's an indication that the hand is cuffed. which would make the hand look smaller than what it is. Again, don't know. You have some kind of like, looks like a face here or pressed up against there. So I doubt it's Bryan Kohberger, but you never know. You have some smudge right there, look like a handprint too. Like I said, there's much of this is just, you can't see anything. There's nothing to see. All right, so you see when you walk out here, there's a little step here too. That's actually a lot bigger of a step than I thought it was. Look at how big that step is. Maybe that's why he bumped into this. Maybe he did trip over it and bumped into it. Look at all the cups on the floor. And you can see other images from the cups where you can see there was fluid in some of them and how it was thrown out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did trip over this, kind of hit that a little bit. There was blood found on this desk. What is that? Look at that. Don't know if that's a shoe print or not. I can't tell. Those look like scuffs, but that looks interesting right here. This is the kitchen area. Oh, good. I wanted to see what was on the floor here. Doesn't look like glass from here. From the other image, it looked like it was glass, but this don't. This looks like just trash. And I could have swore they said there was some blood somewhere around here by the sink. I don't see it through these images, but it would be hard to tell. You see how close? I mean, even if you use the ones underneath the table, he was running out the back door, or at least moving with a purpose. He could have flung something, sweat, anything on there. And to use them to secure the door, I think was just a bad idea. All right, so here's the beer pong table. Here's the knife. Hey, look, you can see a little bit of blood underneath the knife, actually. Or a red something. I don't know if that's what it was. But that was the knife out of the kitchen sink. That Hunter got when he went into the house. Hard to tell. And again, more of the first floors. Not much, guys. Not much. All right. I'm going to answer some of y'all's questions before we call it a show. Good God watch over Dylan. Thank you, Desert. Appreciate that. Annabelle comes in with a thanks for $4.99. Deborah comes in with thank you for breaking this down for us. I appreciate that. Thank you. Sirius Black, mod, and friend of the show. How you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Gifted 5 Drunk Turkey Show memberships. And then Deborah comes in with $2 saying, I think you watched and waited for Kaylee to be back. That's a good possibility. You know, I talked to Steve about it too. And I said, look, he started doing something around November 10th. That's when things started to change. Did Kaylee post anything online? And if he was following him to that extent, then he knew that she was out of town and stuff. Maybe there's a good possibility he was following her family and friends, trying to pick up clues too. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was something that was said or shown that tipped him off into thinking that she was going to be back that weekend. Now, again, I have no idea if he actually said Kaylee's name. In the documents, it was quoted from Dylan that she said that he said that she heard him say Kaylee. So we'll see. we'll see. We'll have that conversation tomorrow. I plan on coming live tomorrow night with Dr. Vona. We're going to talk about the interview. We'll talk a little bit more about the what was said here and some of the things that is going on with Bryan Kohberger in jail. You don't want to miss it. But I'll answer a few questions for the next 3-4 minutes. Please put in a couple of stars before, and that way I know that to answer that you're asking me and not somebody else. How's my dad doing? My dad's doing great. He's doing a lot better. Thank you for asking, and thank you for all the prayers and thoughts, guys. It's truly humbling, and I'm truly grateful for it. He had open heart surgery. He had 5 valves that were blocked, quite a bit. He had to have extensive work on, and then it was scary. We had a little bit of a scare. His blood pressure was really low last night, and he was bleeding. He was bleeding extensively, and when I went in there this morning, he was extremely pale. They had to give him some blood, and they stopped and slowed down. I'm not sure if the bleeding is completely stopped, but it's slowed down. His blood pressure has risen. It's the last time I saw it was like 110 over 55, somewhere around there. And he no longer looks as pale. So he's not out of the woodworks yet. He stood up today. I think he took some steps. He sat down for a majority of today too, a good chunk of today. He's breathing on his own. He'll probably be in ICU for the next 3-4 days, maybe. They said it was usually about 3 to 5 days. And so, yeah, today was day 1. And I'll be there tomorrow. As soon as I get off of work, and then as soon as I get home, I'll be going live talking with Dr. Vona. It's hard, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's one of the tougher things. My grandfather just went through this too. He had a heart attack, my grandfather, and he had to have open heart surgery. And so that just happened like a few months ago, like 9-10 months ago. And now my dad. And so, and it was my mom's father, my grandfather on my mom's side. So, yeah, good old Steelers fan. It's already made me an appointment with a cardiologist because now I have it on both sides of the family, and just wants to make sure I'm okay because I have some chest pains every now and then, but I count it to indigestion. But I don't know. Yes, Daniel, give me an update on your dad for everyone praying. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Vona. I appreciate that. Let's see. A couple of stars, guys. A couple of stars. Dad's doing good. He's doing real good. Definitely blood dripping outside of the house, or amino black turned red. I don't think so. I think that was definitely blood dripping out of the back of the house. Definitely do. I'm a doctor, Brooks. I didn't catch what you said earlier. If you don't mind putting it back in, I'd appreciate it. They put 3 in the first time, 2 in the second. Ooh. That's what my dad went in. He was having some heart problems, and he went into the cardiologist. They did a stress test. First, they told him that he was fine. They did some imaging, and they're like, we got some dark spots here. They weren't even concerned. They're like, we're not that concerned. It's probably nothing. You're young. And I tell him, this might be controversial, but he ended up getting the jab back in 2021 or whatever. He ended up getting it twice. And I was like, man, I've heard a lot of things with people, cardiology and stuff. And after getting that done, and I haven't, but my father did. And now 2 years ago is when he started having some chest problems. So it wasn't too long after he took the shot. Not to get controversial or anything, but I strongly suspect that there's some correlation there between not just my father, my grandfather, but like so many young people too. It's attacked so many young people have had heart problems after taking the shot. So not telling you not to take it, not scaring it, not trying to scare anybody or anything like that. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I couldn't tell you one way or the other if it is affecting it or not. I just know that it affected my dad a little bit. In my opinion, it did. Because he didn't have any heart problems like this until about 2 years ago. That's when things started happening. He started having the shortness of breath and this, that, and a third. And he's not in bad shape either. Now, obviously, this can happen to anybody, and And I'm trying not to just answer questions by being accusatory, but it's hard not to, you know. Let's see. Couple more, guys. Couple more. It is hereditary. I know. I need to get it checked out. That's why I'm doing it. My wife's making me go and see the cardiologist. Do Kohberger step in dog poo with both feet? I'm just asking because most think that the scene was cleaned because there was only one latent. Yeah, the scene was not cleaned. You can see how dirty the house was. They had parties and stuff. They just had parties, so obviously that wasn't the case. Do you think Kohberger was in the house before? Like, I do. I think there's a couple of instances where they came home and the back door was open in one, the front door was open another. In one situation, when they came home after a weekend trip, the washer was on, and that frightened them. You know, that's kind of reminiscent of what Bryan Kohberger did to Nayeon Ko when he moved some things around in her house and then put the cosmetics on her toilet seat. It's all an intimidation thing, a fear to get a rise. He's probably watching and getting off on things like that. He did that in. He's been breaking into houses, and there was probably other houses he broke into. There was in the documents that we just read. And if you guys haven't gone through it, I just kind of gave the highlight talking points of everything. It's still about 2-hour podcast, but I think it was the last one that I did. And we broke down a lot of the students and faculty that had issues with Bryan Kohberger. Some of them lived close to him, and they found footprints in the snow leading to their back door windows, and that they were backtracked, very similar to the footprints that are seen in the crime scene photos. I strongly suspect he had been in there. My husband and I had to take it for work, and he has blood clots ever since. Oof. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't take it. I was tempted, to be honest with you. And the reason being was because I was like, man, something serious happened. I thought it was always a leaked lab leak thing. I felt that, the government, to do what they were doing, was probably an indication that they were aware as far as like the shutdown and stuff. It was like this to me. I was like, man, what probably happened is they're aware of a lab leak, and they're probably aware, they being the government, is probably aware of the stuff that we have done. And that if something that we have done has gotten loose from somewhere else and is now spreading across the globe, that it could be pretty lethal. And so they were acting in a certain way that made me believe in that. And so I was like, man, maybe I should take the shot, because if they're acting this scared about it and shutting people down from work, maybe there's something serious there. But I just didn't. I'm afraid of needles. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't like shots. And so that probably was about 60% of the reason why I didn't get it. And I came close a couple of times because, my friend's mom passed, from COVID. And I had some other friends. I had friends who passed away that I went to school with and stuff that had it. And I had 2 friends of mine, 3, who passed away. And then my buddy's mom who passed away. And I was like, man, I've been kind of nervous here. And so I thought about it, but I'm glad I didn't. I'll just put it that way. Let's see. Go watch Dr. Ryan Cole at the White Coat Summit. I may. I'm sure he sounds like he's anti-vax kind of thing, maybe. Yeah, I think I will ever hear from BK's sister that maybe suspected her brother's involvement. Do I think we'll hear about it? Oh, that's a good question. I doubt it. It sounds like he's in contact with his family still. It sounds like his family, including his sisters, were on a lot of those video calls with him while he was in prison. I doubt it. I doubt that'll come out. Not through them. Not through them. Will it come out through maybe Pennsylvania? I hope so. If it happened, I hope it does come out. But that'll probably come out of Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania documents. I don't know if they actually spoke with them. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. I hope so. Could the firecracker flash be Xana hitting the floor, causing the first floor light to short out? That's an interesting point. That's a possibility. Do I think what, Micro Kimmy? Do I think that? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Do you think the sparks Bethany saw was where BK hit that crack dip in the pavement and going so fast to leave? Maybe. I honestly think it was the DoorDasher's flashlight and maybe a combination of a few things that were happening that night while she was partially awake and asleep. Heard on Nancy Grace tonight that BK is complaining inmates are saying through the vents that they're going to assault him through the rear and not getting all of his food supposed to get. Yeah, I saw that. I have a lot of questions about that, and I have a lot of theories on Bryan Kohberger right now that I'm waiting for tomorrow night so I can talk with Dr. Vona because I want to pick her brain about it. But, I think he's just trying to make he's trying to make things hard so he can get things his way. He's probably done that all his life. After all this stuff is calmed down with Idaho case, do you think some lawsuits are coming in? What about Karen Reed? I'm sure there's going to be some lawsuits. I think the victim family are going to try to prevent Bryan Kohberger and his family from profiting off of this. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of lawsuit there. Could there be some lawsuits with the school? Maybe. Karen Reed stuff, I don't know. I'm fed up with that case, to be honest with you. It's one that is too painfully obvious. I mean, there's more evidence in that case than this one. Richard Allen, any of them that you can. I understand why they released her. I mean, the officer, I understand why they found her not guilty because the officer's statements and he was being, pretty biased and things of that nature. But when you look at the evidence itself, I mean, we would have to believe that John O'Keefe entered that house and magically teleported outside without taking a step, and that his phone somehow, I don't know how, but started to lose temperature, but not completely, not a lot, as if it was outside and a body was on top of it. But you can't really account for it anywhere else. You also have the fact that Karen Reed's, tail light was broken. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, this and that," and Proctor, but I showed a video of where it was broken in the video that at 5 something in the morning. And it was missing a huge amount of pieces. There wasn't any in the snow. I have those videos. Unless Proctor has a time machine and he can go back in time and somehow, because we also have to remember that her vehicle was in a garage protected from the elements. It's insane. Now, are they going to sue her? Probably. Will they win? Will the O'Keefes win? Probably not. She has a lot of supporters in that area. She has got a lot of fans. And unfortunately, they rather see her win for some reason than anything else. Now, I understand why they dislike the law enforcement in the area. I get it. I completely understand. 100%. They came off biased. They came off like they were doing things that they shouldn't have done. Did they conspire against her? Did they tamper with anything? Did they actually frame her? I don't see any of that. But were they biased? Yeah, you can see that. And so I understand why she got off. But the evidence is pretty clear. I mean, I could explain the evidence in that case so much easier than I could in the Bryan Kohberger case. Some of the free Karen Reed don't like it, but it is what it is. Let's see. Yeah, I know a lot of people had no choice for that. Thank you so much for great coverage. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All righty, guys. That's going to do it for me tonight. It's almost midnight here, about 30 minutes from there. You guys have a great night. I'll be back on tomorrow night with Dr. Vona. Might be a little bit later, probably closer to about 8 p.m. on the central side, 9 p.m. on the eastern coast, about 6 p.m. on the west coast. So maybe 8:30. So somewhere in between there. Like, comment, subscribe, so that way you're notified when we go live. Until next time, guys, we'll see y'all later. Peace.